The phone shattered the midnight silence like a gunshot in an empty cathedral, its shrill ring slicing through the humid Chicago air that clung to Daniel's skin like regret. He bolted upright in bed, heart slamming against his ribs, the sheets tangling around his legs as if trying to hold him back from whatever hell was calling. On the other end, William's voice cracked like thunder, raw, breathless, edged with terror. Dan, they're coming for me. I found it all, the files, the names. Get out now before they... Daniel's hand trembled as he gripped the receiver, the plastic biting into his palm like a lifeline he wasn't sure he deserved. The apartment on the edge of Wrigleyville felt smaller than ever, its walls closing in under the weight of that voice, the one that had anchored him through 3 years of stolen weekends and whispered promises. William. His William. The sharp-tongued investigative reporter with eyes like polished oak and a laugh that could disarm a room full of skeptics. Sounded like a ghost already, fading into static. Will, slow down, Daniel rasped, swinging his legs over the bed's edge, bare feet hitting the cool hardwood floor. The clock on the nightstand glowed 2:17 a.m., mocking him with its indifference. Outside, the distant hum of the L train rattled past, a metallic heartbeat to the city's sleepless pulse. Where are you? I'm coming. No! William's whisper cut sharp, laced with the kind of fear Daniel had only heard once before, back when they'd first met at that dive bar off Halstead, nursing beers after a brutal windstorm had knocked out half the loop. The warehouse district. But Dan, it's bigger than us. The mayor's office, the cops. Some of them are in on it. Embezzlement, payoffs, and, God, the bodies they've buried. I was digging into that cold case from 19, the one with the kid from Pilsen. It all ties back. Daniel's mind reeled, fragments of their life flashing like lightning. Lazy Sundays at the lakefront, William's fingers tracing the faded tattoo on Daniel's shoulder. A compass rose inked during his Marine days, pointing nowhere after the discharge that left him adrift in civilian skin. They'd built something real here, in the shadow of the Willis Tower, 2 men carving out space in a world that still whispered slurs behind closed doors. But now, this call was a grenade pin-pulled, rolling toward their feet. He was already yanking on jeans, the denim rough against his calloused hands. Hands that had steadied William through panic attacks after deadlines crushed him. Hands that had mapped every curve of his body in the quiet hours when the city slept. Stay put. I'm 10 minutes out. Lock the doors. Barricade if you have to. A pause, heavy as the summer storms that battered Lake Michigan. Then William's voice softer, breaking. I love you, Dan. If I don't make it, don't you dare finish that sentence. Daniel snatched his keys from the dresser, the jangle echoing like accusations. He paused at the mirror, catching his reflection. 34 years etched in faint lines around his eyes, the stubble he'd forgotten to shave, the weight of unspoken dreams. William had called him his rock once, solid as the limestone cliffs of Starved Rock. But rocks cracked under enough pressure. The door slammed behind him, the stairwell's fluorescent buzz guiding his descent like a bad omen. His truck, an old Ford F-150 with more dents than memories, roared to life in the alley, headlights cutting through the fog rolling off the Chicago River. The warehouse district loomed on the south side, a graveyard of rusting silos and forgotten freight cars, where the American dream went to die under graffiti tags and broken glass. Daniel's pulse thrummed with the engine's growl, memories flooding in. Their first kiss under the bean, rain-slick and urgent. The night William's editor spiked his story on police brutality, and Daniel held him as sobs shook them both. The quiet vow they'd made last Christmas, exchanging simple silver bands hidden under collars, a promise against the odds. Traffic was a ghost at this hour, red lights blurring past as he pushed 60 through the empty streets. His phone buzzed on the dash. Texts from William, hiding in the office loft. Lights off. Hear sirens. Then, miss you already. Daniel's throat tightened. A fist of grief he shoved down deep. He'd lost too many in Afghanistan. Brothers in arms, ghosts in fatigues. To let this be how it ended. Not for the man who'd taught him to love without armor. To laugh at the world's cruelties over deep dish pizza and craft IPAs. The district unfolded like a noir film set. chain-link fences sagging under ivy, sodium lamps casting orange pools on cracked asphalt. Daniel killed the headlights a block out, coasting to a stop behind a dumpster that reeked of oil and decay. The warehouse, Building 17, a hulking relic from the meatpacking days, squatted dark against the skyline, its windows black as judgment. He slipped out, Glock tucked into his waistband from the glove box, the weight familiar yet foreign in this civilian nightmare. Footsteps silent on gravel. He circled wide, ears straining for the whine of tires or the crack of a suppressor. A shadow detached from the loading dock. William, disheveled in his wool coat, laptop bag slung over one shoulder like a shield. His face, pale under the moon's sliver, split into desperate relief. Dan! They collided in a crush of arms and urgency, William's mouth hot against Daniel's, tasting of fear and coffee. It was brief, fierce, a spark in the gathering storm. Inside, William gasped, pulling him toward a side door rusted half open. I stashed the drive in the rafters. Proof, emails, ledgers, photos from the kids last night. They ducked into the gloom, the air thick with dust and the metallic tang of old machinery. Flashlights off, they navigated by memory and touch, William's hand in Daniel's a tether. Up a creaking metal staircase to the loft, where crates loomed like tombstones. William fumbled a key from his pocket, unlocking a battered file cabinet. Here, he murmured, extracting a thumb drive etched with Sharpie, truth. But as Daniel pocketed it, tires screeched outside. Close, too close. Headlights swept the lot like searchlights, engines revving in predatory harmony. William froze, eyes wide. They found me. How? Daniel peered through a grimy window, counting shadows. 3 black SUVs, men in tactical gear spilling out, faces obscured by balaclavas. Not uniforms, private muscle, the kind bought with dirty money. We move. Back exit. A voice boomed from below, amplified and cold. William Hargrove, we know you're up there. Come down nice, and no one gets hurt. William's laugh was bitter, hollow. That's Russo's crew, the alderman's fixer. I crossed him last year on a zoning scam. Thought I'd buried it. Daniel's blood iced. Russo. A name whispered in precinct break rooms, untouchable, with hooks in city hall deep as the riverbed. And now this, their quiet life, the one they'd fought for against families who pretended not to see, against a country still debating their right to wed. It was unraveling in one call. Dan, William said, voice steadying as he gripped Daniel's arm. If we don't get this out, we will. Daniel met his gaze, the loft's dimness sharpening the love there, fierce as Lake Michigan gales. But doubt gnawed. How deep did the rot go? And who else might they have to betray to survive? The first shot splintered the silence, glass raining like accusations. They bolted, hearts pounding in sync, the drive burning a hole in Daniel's pocket. Down catwalks slick with rain seepage, leaping gaps where railings had long surrendered to rust. William stumbled once, Daniel catching him mid-fall, their bodies a blur of motion and memory. Outside, the SUVs fanned out, beams crisscrossing the yard like veins. They hit the chain-link fence at a run, Daniel boosting William over first, Thorne snagging coat and skin alike. Go! He hissed, but William waited, hand extended. Together, then always together. Sirens wailed distant, real blues closing in. But the Mercs were faster, boots thundering. A bullet whined past Daniel's ear, embedding in the fence with a thunk. They sprinted for the truck, William's breath ragged, Daniel's mind a storm. Protect him. Get the truth out. Hold on. They peeled out in a spray of gravel, the Ford's tires screaming protest as Daniel floored it toward the Dan Ryan Expressway. In the rear view, taillights pursued like demons. William slumped against the door, clutching his side, blood seeping through his shirt, dark and accusing. Will Jesus! Daniel swerved into traffic, horns blaring, the city a blur of neon and rage. Just a graze, William lied, but his pallor said otherwise. He pulled out his phone, fingers slick with red, dialing a contact, Elena, his editor at the Tribune. "L. This Hargrove. I've got the story of the decade. But send help now." The line crackled. Then, "On it. Stay alive, you idiot." Daniel glanced over, their eyes locking in the dashlight's glow. A silent vow amid the chaos. This call had pulled them into the fire, but damn if their bond wouldn't be the flame that burned it all down. As they merged onto the expressway, the pursuing SUVs closing, Daniel whispered, "We're getting through this. You and me." William's hand found his on the gearshift, warm despite the blood. "Always." But in the rearview, a new set of lights joined the hunt. Cruisers, blues flashing. Allies? Or part of the web? The night stretched endless, and Daniel wondered if dawn would find them whole, or if betrayal waited in the blue. The expressway became a gauntlet of steel and shadow, Chicago's arteries pulsing with the frantic beat of their escape. Daniel wove through sparse traffic, the Ford's V8 straining as he pushed 80, the speedometer needle trembling like his resolve. William's breathing grew shallow beside him, each exhale a rasp that twisted Daniel's gut. The wound wasn't deep, grazed rib, maybe a cracked one. But blood soaked the seat, a crimson stain blooming like an accusation. "Hold on, love," Daniel murmured, eyes flicking between road and mirrors. The Merc's SUVs flanked them now, one pulling alongside on the left, the other boxing from behind. No sirens from them, just cold precision, blacked-out windows hiding the faces of men who'd sell their souls for a paycheck. And the cop cars? Trailing at a distance, lights off, ghosts in the machine. William shifted, wincing, his free hand fumbling for the glove compartment. "Dan, the dash cam. Flip it on. If we go down, at least it'll catch the plates." Daniel nodded, thumbing the switch, a cheap add-on from his security gig days, feeding to the cloud. "Smart. Now talk to me. What exactly did you uncover?" William's eyes, fever-bright, met his. It started with the Pilsen kid, Miguel Ruiz, 16, found floating in the river 2 summers back. Cops called it drowning, case closed. But I got a tip from an anonymous source. Miguel saw something at one of Russo's community centers. Code for money laundering fronts. Payoffs to silence witnesses. Developers greased for luxury condos on the cheap. And the mayor? She's in it up to her pearls, funneling funds to her re-election war chest. Daniel's jaw clenched, the pieces slotting into a nightmare mosaic. He'd heard whispers on the force, off-book deals, badges bought like Black Friday specials. But this? It was rot at the core, the kind that felled empires. And the cold case ties? Miguel wasn't the first. 3 others, all Latino teens from the same blocks. Accidents. Russo's crew cleans up loose ends. William coughed, a wet sound that made Daniel's heart stutter. "I hacked an email chain, Russo to the mayor's aide, then to, shit, Captain Hale." Hale, Daniel's captain, the grizzled vet who'd mentored him post-Marine, slapped his back at the precinct holiday party last week. The man who'd towed the line on every brutality complaint, eyes sliding away. Betrayal hit like whiplash, not just professional but personal. Hale knew about them, had cornered Daniel once in the locker room. "Keep it clean, kid. Don't let the fairy tales bleed into the job." The lead SUV surged, ramming their tailgate with a jolt that fishtailed the Ford. Daniel corrected hard, adrenaline surging like old combat highs. "They're hurting us," toward the off-ramp. 95th Street. William braced against the dash. "Take it. Lose them in the industrial parks. Then head for Elena's safe house in Bridgeport." Daniel veered right, tires howling as they exited into a labyrinth of factories and rail yards, the city giving way to skeletal warehouses under sodium glow. The Mercs followed, but the cops hung back. Watching? Waiting for the hit? His radio crackled to life, snatched from the console. "All units, pursuit in progress. Suspect vehicle. White F-150. Plates." Static swallowed the rest, but Daniel's blood ran cold. Suspect. They were painting him rogue now, the loyal beat cop turned fugitive in one breath. For loving a man who chased truth like it was oxygen. For believing in a badge that suddenly felt like tin. They ditched the truck in a shadowed lot behind a derelict steel mill, the engine ticking cool down as they slipped into the underbrush along the Calumet River. William leaned heavy on Daniel, steps faltering, but his grip was iron. Almost there. 2 blocks. Moonlight silvered the water, ripples carrying the faint glow of distant freighters. The air hummed with crickets and the low throb of industry, a forgotten corner of the American heartland where dreams rusted alongside the girders. Daniel supported William's weight, their breaths sinking in the dark. A rhythm honed in motel rooms and rooftop hideaways, away from prying eyes. "You ever think," William panted, "this is what they mean by the land of the free? Free to run, free to bleed for it." Daniel's laugh was choked. "Every damn day. But with you, feels like fighting for something real." They reached the safe house, a nondescript bungalow squeezed between auto shops, its porch light a beacon. Elena flung the door open before they knocked, her face a mask of fierce concern. Short-cropped hair, glasses perched on a nose smudged with ink, the archetype of a newsroom warrior. "Hargrove, you look like hell. Get in. I've got a doc on speed dial." Inside, the place smelled of strong coffee and printer toner, walls papered with crime scene photos and red-string conspiracy boards. Elena guided William to the couch, peeling back his shirt to reveal the furrow of torn flesh. Through and through. Lucky bastard. As she fetched the first aid kit, Daniel paced, phone buzzing with ignored texts. "Hale. Stand down, Reese. This isn't you." Then Hargrove's poison. "Come in, we'll fix it." Betrayal's sting deepened. Hale, who'd shared war stories over beers, toasting to keeping the streets safe. Safe for who? Not for kids like Miguel, not for men like them, loving in the margins. The doc arrived 20 minutes later, a wiry woman named Patel, hands steady as she stitched William under local anesthetic. "No vitals drop. He'll scar. But live." She eyed Daniel. "You both need rest. And a lawyer." Elena brewed fresh joe, handing mugs around. "The drive's gold, Dan. I've got contacts at the feds. DOJ's been sniffing around Russo for months. Upload it now before they trace." William, pale but propped up on pillows, nodded. "Do it. For Miguel. For all of them." As the files transferred, gigs of damning data, voices grainy on audio clips admitting to disposals. Daniel sank beside William, their knees brushing. In the lamplight, William's face softened, fingers lacing with his. "Remember our road trip? That diner in Iowa? Pancakes at dawn." Daniel smiled faintly, the memory a balm. Endless cornfields, William's head on his shoulder, radio crooning Springsteen. "Born to run." Fitting now. "Yeah, this is just a detour." But sirens wailed closer, blues massing. Elena's scanner crackled. APB on Reese and Hargrove. Armed and dangerous. Daniel's stomach dropped. Hale's doing. Turning their love into a crime scene. "We bolt at first light," Elena said, decisive. "I've got a line on a safe harbor old press buddy in Milwaukee. From there, we blow this wide." William squeezed Daniel's hand, eyes holding promises. "Together. Always." Dawn crept in gray and reluctant, painting the bungalow in hesitant gold. They slipped out the back, Elena's borrowed sedan humming to life. The city receded in the mirrors, skyscrapers shrinking to teeth on the horizon. As they merged onto I-94 North, the lake a steel-blue companion. But in the quiet miles, William's voice turned pensive. "Dan, if Hale's turned, who else? Your partner? The guys at the 12th? Daniel's grip tightened on the wheel. "Doesn't matter. We fight clean. Truth over fists." William leaned back, exhaustion claiming him. "That's what I love about you. The compass. Always pointing true." Yet as Wisconsin's dairy farms unfolded, a call pierced the calm. Unknown number. Daniel answered on speaker, dread pooling. "Reese." Hale's voice, gravel and smoke. "You think you're a hero? Hargrove's a leaker, a fag-stirring shit. Come in or I bury you both." The line went dead, but the threat lingered, a shadow on their light. Betrayal wasn't just professional. It was personal. a knife twisted in the ribs of trust. Daniel glanced at William, sleeping fitfully, and vowed silently, "I'd burn the world for you. But at what cost?" The road stretched on, uncertainty a passenger none could shake. Milwaukee's lakefront welcomed them like an old friend. Brisk winds off Lake Michigan whipping the sedan's wipers. The Hone Bridge arching graceful against a sky bruised purple. Elena's contact, a grizzled ex-Tribune vet named Kowalski, met them at a nondescript brew pub off the harbor, its taps flowing with amber Alesh that tasted of hops and home. "Park in the alley," he grunted, mustache twitching like a divining rod for bullshit. "Feds'll sniff you out soon enough." The safe house was a walk-up above a Polish deli, smelling of kielbasa and sauerkraut, walls thin enough to hear the neighbors' arguments in lilting accents. William crashed first, painkillers pulling him under on a lumpy futon, while Daniel paced the fire escape, staring at the lights twinkling across the water. Chicago felt a world away, yet its claws dug deep, Hale's call echoing, a venom that soured every memory of the badge. Kowalski brewed tea strong as tar, sliding a mug Daniel's way. Heard the chatter. "Your captain's got the mayor's ear, spinning it like you're dirty cops in a lover's spat. Media's lapping it up, corrupt duo on the lam." Daniel sipped, the bitterness grounding him. "It's a lie. Will's got proof irrefutable." The old man nodded, eyes sharp behind bifocals. "Proof's only as good as the platform. I've looped in a DOJ contact. Agent Ruiz, no relation to the kid. Thank Christ. She's en route from D.C., wants a face-to-face tomorrow. But tonight, lay low. Order pierogies." Alone with William's snores, Daniel sat vigil, tracing the lines of his lover's face in the dim lampglow. 3 years ago, it had been different. Daniel fresh from the Corps, drifting through security jobs, hollowed by sand and loss. William, then a rising star at the paper, had crashed into him at a vigil for Pulse survivors. Chicago's echo of that Orlando night, candles flickering in Grant Park. "You look like you need a drink," William had said, grin crooked, extending a flask. "Or a revolution." It started with talks, late nights debating policy over whiskey, William's passion igniting Daniel's embers. Then touches. A hand on a knee under the table, evolving to stolen weekends in Door County cabins, where they could be men, not masks. William taught him vulnerability, the beauty in breaking. Daniel gave him steadiness, a harbor in editorial storms. Their rings, simple, engraved with anchor, were talismans against the world's grind. But now, this flight had cracked the facade. Daniel's phone, a burner from Kowalski, buzzed with a text from his partner, Jax. "WTF, man? Hale's raging. Says you shot at units. Call me." Betrayal layered on betrayal. Jax, the kid brother he'd mentored. Buying the spin? Morning brought Agent Ruiz. Compact, Latina firebrand in a pantsuit, badge gleaming like judgment. She scanned the drive's files on Kowalski's ancient laptop, expression hardening. "This is dynamite." Russo's web touches 3 states, trafficking kids as labor for his builds, silencing with lead. Mayor's complicit. Hale's her bagman. William, bandaged and bleary, leaned forward. "Publish it. Front page, every outlet." Ruiz shook her head. "Not yet. We need airtight witnesses, not just docs. And you two, assets now. Protected, but watched." Daniel's hackles rose. "Protected? We're bait." "Strategic," she countered, eyes softening a fraction. "You get us Hale. Infiltrate. Flip him. Or we pull you both under Witsec. New names, new lives." The offer hung, a guillotine blade. New lives. No more bull games at Murphy's. No lake shore runs hand in hand under stars. Just ghosts in suburbia, love reduced to whispers. William's hand found Daniel's under the table. A silent no. "We fight here. For the truth." Ruiz relented, marginally. "Fine. But Hale's meeting a contact tonight. Russo's yacht, docked at the yacht club. Stake it out. Quiet." They geared up as dusk fell. Kowalski's loaner van, binoculars, recorders. The yacht club sprawled elegant on Milwaukee's Gold Coast. Slips lined with vessels that screamed old money. Sleek hulls bobbing gentle, fairy lights strung like lies. Rousseau's boat, Lady Liberty, loomed ostentatious, a floating palace of teak and excess. Daniel and William crouched in the van, shadows among the sedans of the elite. There, William whispered, pointing. Hale disembarked a cruiser, uniform crisp, climbing aboard with a briefcase that no doubt held seals on sins. Ruiz's wire fed them audio. Hale's voice, oily. Shipments delayed. Feds sniffing. We need to accelerate the cleans. Rousseau's laugh boomed, cigar smoke curling visible. Cleans? Call it progress, Captain. Those river rats? Collateral for the greater good, jobs, towers, the American way. Daniel's fists balled. Rage a live wire. The greater good. Code for greed. For burying brown boys while white-collar thieves toasted champagne. William's breath hitched beside him, hand on Daniel's thigh, an anchor, pulling him from the red haze. Then motion. Hale glancing shoreward, eyes narrowing on their van. Company, a beat. Then Rousseau, handle it. Floodlights snapped on, sweeping the lot. Tires crunched. Security goons piling from golf carts. Guns drawn low. Out. Now. Daniel gunned the engine, van lurching forward as bullets pinged off the chassis. William ducked, yelling into the recorder. It's Hale, confirming hits on Ruiz witnesses. They barreled through the gate, barrier splintering. Ruiz's voice crackling. Abort! Exfil now. Back up en route. But the yacht club's private road funneled them into a trap. Roadblock ahead, cruisers boxing the rear. Daniel swerved onto grass, the van bouncing wild over lawns manicured to envy. Hold on. William braced, face ashen. Dan left. The service path. They plunged into undergrowth, branches clawing like accusations, emerging onto a side street slick with evening dew. Cruisers wailed pursuit, but the van's anonymity bought seconds. Daniel pushed it, heart in throat, until they ditched in an alley behind a shuttered foundry, legs carrying them into the warren of Milwaukee's breweries. Panting in a doorway, William sagged against Daniel. We got it. Audio gold. But sirens converged, a noose tightening, and Hale, God Hale, had seen them. The mentor turned Judas, his betrayal a chasm. They holed up in a flophouse off Brady Street, cash from Kowalski buying a night. William cleaned the wound anew, stitches holding, but fever simmered. Daniel brewed weak coffee, their silence heavy with unsaid fears. You regret this? William asked finally, voice small. Me dragging you into my mess? Daniel knelt, cupping his face, thumbs brushing cheeks rough with neglect. Regret you? Never. You're the best damn thing in this broken country. The light when the badges go dark. William's eyes shimmered, pulling Daniel into a kiss soft as forgiveness. Lips tentative, then sure, a reaffirmation amid ruins. No heat, just heart. The romance of survivors, love as rebellion. But dawn brought Ruiz's call. Hale's lawyered up, claims entrapment. We need more or you testify. Testify. Faces in the light, names in the ledger. Safety for some, targets for others. As they planned the next move, Daniel felt the weight. Their bond, forged in quiet intimacies, now the spark for a blaze that could consume them. Yet in William's gaze he saw the humanism, the belief that two men, loving true, could mend a fractured America, one truth at a time, or die trying. The flophouse's walls wept condensation, mirroring the sweat beading on Daniel's brow as he pored over Ruiz's briefing packet. Printouts smudged from hasty facts, detailing Hale's timeline. Payoffs logged in crypto wallets, meets with Rousseau masked as consults. Milwaukee's underbelly felt tighter than Chicago's, the city's Polish-German grit hiding veins of the same corruption. But here they were strangers, ghosts slipping through beer gardens and lake paths. William rallied by noon, color returning under painkillers, his reporter's fire undimmed. We hit the source, he declared over takeout bratwurst, grease spotting the table. Russo's accountant, low-level, scared. I cultivated him months back, off-record. Name's Patel, no relation to the doc. Works out of a strip mall office in Cudahy. Daniel arched a brow, fork paused mid-air. You and your Rolodex of regret. Safe. William shrugged, wincing. As houses built on sand. But he flips, we bury them. Ruiz greenlit the meet, providing a tale. Unmarked sedan, her partner a silent type named Torres. They rolled south along the lake, windows down to catch the brine-scented breeze. Radio low on Wuzza, Milwaukee's queer station. Crooning indie folk about lost loves and found homes. This one's for the runners. The DJ drawled, and William's hand found Daniel's knee, a touch that set us. Cudahy sprawled industrial, smokestacks belching against a sky heavy with clouds. The strip mall anchored a faded American strip. Nail salon, check-cashing joint, Patel's financial solutions wedged between. The accountant waited in a booth at the adjacent diner. Nervous tick twitching his mustache, coffee untouched. Mr. Hargrove, he hissed as they slid in, eyes darting. You said discreet. William leaned in, voice velvet over steel. Discreet's my middle name, Raj. Now talk. The ledgers. Where's the paper trail end? Patel swallowed, glancing at Daniel's bulk across the table. Ex-Marine aura undiluted. It's digital, all cloud-locked. But I got backups, USB in my safe. Russo's cuts, Hale's vig. Dates match the Ruiz kids' last ping. Daniel's pulse quickened. And the others? Proof of the hits. A nod, reluctant. Invoices disguised as pest control. I laundered the payments. Guilt's a bitch, man. William's eyes softened, the humanist in him surfacing. Raj, you're not the monster here. Help us end it. Sanctuary. Ruiz can pull strings. The man deflated, hearing jangling as he rose. Back room. Now. They followed to the office, a warren of filing cabinets and flickering fluorescents. Patel spun the safe's dial, extracting a slim drive labeled taxes 23. Everything. But Russo's got eyes, cameras in the lot. As William plugged it in, scanning files, spreadsheets blooming with damning figures, timestamps aligning with disappearances. Daniel stood sentry at the blinds. A shadow flickered outside. Sedan idling, not theirs. Torres, he muttered. Then glass shattered, door bursting inward. Two goons, Russo stamps, tattoos peeking from cuffs, leveled Glocks. Drop it, Patel. Chaos erupted. William dove for the drive, yanking it free. Daniel lunged, tackling the lead thug in a tangle of limbs and curses. Fists flew, Daniel's hooking jaw cracking bone, while the second grabbed for William. Patel screamed, scrambling back. Run! Daniel roared, pinning his man, knee to throat. William bolted for the rear exit, drive clutched like a grenade. The alley swallowed them, dumpsters reeking of fry oil, chain link rattling as they vaulted. Gunshots barked, wild, pinging metal but distance bought breath. William's stitches tore anew, blood spotting his shirt, but he ran, face set in grim poetry. They commandeered a delivery van from a loading dock, keys in ignition, dumb luck, peeling out toward the interstate. Torres's cruiser materialized behind, lights flashing escort. Ruiz here, the radio spat. You winged him. Drive's secure. Affirm, William gasped, patching himself with a rag. Patel's. Alive. Cops swarmed. He's singing already. Relief crashed, but Daniel's knuckles throbbed, adrenaline ebbing to ache. Hail next. We take him down. Back at the Delhi safe house, Ruiz convened. Drives merged, a prosecutor's wet dream. This indicts the lot. Russo, Mayor, Hale. Press conference tomorrow, Milwaukee PD staging the bust. You two? Key witnesses. Witnesses. The word chafed, implying spotlights, questions about their story. The gay cop and the crusading journo, fodder for tabloids. William caught Daniel's eye, a flicker of shared dread. Night fell soft, the house quiet save for Kowalski's snores downstairs. They shared the futon, bodies spooned under threadbare quilts. William's back to Daniel's chest, a fortress of flesh. Scared, William whispered, voice muffled. Terrified, Daniel admitted, lips brushing hair damp with sweat. Of losing you, of what comes after if we win. William turned, face inches away, eyes deep as the lake at midnight. Then we dream small, a cabin up north, you fishing, me writing novels. No badges, no bylines, just us, rewriting our ending. Daniel's throat closed, kissing him slow. Tender explorations of cheek and temple, a romance woven in whispers. I'd follow you anywhere, Will, to hell and back. Sleep claimed them tangled, dreams laced with river ghosts and silver rings. Dawn shattered it. Ruiz pounding the door, face ashen. Breach. Hale's men hit the perimeter. Kowalski's hit, non-fatal. They're coming for the drives. Evac scrambled. Burners ditched. Files encrypted to cloud. They fled in Ruiz's SUV, tires screaming north to a secondary site. A ranger cabin in the Kettle Moraine forest, pines whispering secrets. En route, Betrayal's full-bloom hit. Jax's text, forwarded by Ruiz. Dan, Hale showed vids, you and Hargrove at the club. Said you're compromised. Had to turn you in. Sorry, brother. Daniel's vision blurred, the wheel, Ruiz driving now irrelevant. Jax, the kid he'd covered in his first raid, bought drinks for on his birthday. Family, or so he'd thought. He sold us, Daniel said, voice hollow. For what? A pat on the head. William's hand on his shoulder, steady. Not all light dims, Dan. Some bonds break so stronger ones shine. The cabin hunkered low, wood smoke curling from the chimney. Ruiz's team already fortifying. Inside, maps sprawled, radios chattering bust coordinates. Hale's surrender meet, feigned at a loop high-rise tomorrow. But as night deepened, a storm rolled in, thunder rumbling like artillery, rain lashing windows. Power flickered, plunging them into candlelight. William and Daniel sat by the hearth, flames dancing shadows on their faces. This country's got a way of testing us, William mused, poking embers. Promised land, but the milk and honey's laced with hemlock. Daniel pulled him close, head on knee. Then we brew our own. You, me, proof against the poison. Their talk turned memories. The time William's mom, finally thawing, sent rainbow cookies for Pride. Daniel's sister, visiting from Philly, toasting their unbreakable weirdos. Human threads in the tapestry, fragile yet fierce. Yet doubt gnawed. Hale's reach, Jax's knife. Could love outrun the machine? Lightning cracked, illuminating William's resolve. It will, because it's ours. In that storm-swept haven, their bond deepened. Not in grand gestures, but quiet truths. The humanistic core, two men defying the dark. Light kindled in each other's eyes. The Kettle Moraine's pines stood sentinel as Ruiz's team drilled the op. Dawn raid on Hale's precinct safe room, drives as bait, sweat stacking for breach. Daniel volunteered lead, personal, a closing of circles, but Ruiz vetoed, eyes hard. You're too hot, Reese. Emotional collateral. Emotional. The word stung, reducing his rage to footnote. William squeezed his arm in the cabin's cramped kitchen, coffee steaming between them. She's right. Let the pros. You've given enough. Enough? Daniel's laugh barked dry. Since when's justice portioned? Hale took my trust, Jax my brotherhood. They don't get to walk. William's gaze held him, oak warm. They won't. But you walking away alive? That's my justice. Torres drove them back south. Ruiz's SUV a bullet through the pre-dawn gloom. Wisconsin's fields giving way to industrial sprawl. Milwaukee PD's strike force mobilized at a staging lot off I-43. Vests donned. Rifles checked. A symphony of controlled fury. Daniel watched from the perimeter. William beside him. The air electric with anticipation. Radio chatter built. Eagle 1 in position. Asset confirms Hale's inside. Briefcase handover to undercover. Ruiz's voice cut sharp. Breach on my mark. Non-lethal if possible. We need confessions. The mark dropped, and hell uncoiled. Muffled booms. Flashbangs. then shouts echoing over the line. Chicago PD! Hands up! Scuffles, zip ties snapping. Then Hale's voice. Raw. You traitorous? Reese put you up to this? A pause, then Ruiz. No, Captain. Your ledgers did. Daniel's breath caught, fists unclenching fractionally. William's hand slipped into his, a bridge over the abyss. By noon, the bust broke wide. Hale cuffed in the precinct lobby, face thunderous as cameras flashed. Local news swarming like locusts. Russo's yacht seized at harbor. Accountant Patel paraded for mics, tear-streaked but tall. The mayor's office went dark, press secretary stammering platitudes. Elena called from Chicago, Tribune's lead, Empire of Shadows crumbles. Corruption ring exposed. Your name's hero, boys. Front page glory. Heroes. The word sat uneasy, but William hooped, pulling Daniel into a bear hug that jostled stitches. We did it, Dan. For Miguel. For the forgotten. Yet victory soured swift. Jax's arrest that afternoon, turning state's evidence for leniency. He met Daniel's eyes across the holding cell glass at Milwaukee lockup. Bruises blooming on his jaw, Hale's parting gift? Dan. I panicked, Jax mumbled through the intercom, voice cracking. The vids, they twisted it, made you look weak. Said it'd ruin the force. Daniel leaned close, glass cold between them. Weak? Loving ain't weakness, kid. It's the strongest damn thing. You chose fear over family. Jax's head dropped, tears carving tracks. Forgive me. Not today. Daniel stood, the weight lifting, not gone but shared. Betrayal scar, but healing begun. Human frailty, after all, redemption a long road, not a switch. Outside, William waited, arms open. Free, as we'll get. They walked the harbor path, gulls wheeling overhead, lake breeze carrying salt and second chances. Reporters lurked, but Ruiz's detail kept them at bay. That night, back in Chicago, cleared, conditionally, pending IA review, Daniel's apartment felt sacred again, sunlight slanting through blinds like benediction. William cooked, spaghetti carbonara, his mom's recipe, garlic sizzling in cast iron. They ate on the fire escape, feet dangling over the alley, city hum a lullaby. To us, William toasted with Chianti, glasses clinking. Survivors. Daniel's eyes traced him. Bandages peeking from collar, smile unbroken. To more than that, builders. Talk flowed easy. Futures sketched in broad strokes. William eyeing a book deal, Daniel musing community outreach, youth programs in Pilsen, teaching kids like Miguel to chase dreams without drowning. No grand gestures, just grounded hope. The American ethos, resilient as rust-belt steel. But shadows lingered. Hale's trial loomed, subpoenas incoming. And the ring's tendrils? Deeper, Ruiz warned, federal probes branching to D.C. Climax brewed that week. Russo's arraignment, a circus in the Dirksen courthouse. Daniel and William testified, side by side in witness box, voices steady as they laid bare the ledgers, the calls, the yacht's damning audio. Russo glared from the dock, silk suit rumpled, empire crumbling. The mayor resigned pre-dawn, scandal's noose tightening. Hale's turn came brutal, cross-exam painting him monster, but his gaze sought Daniel's. Pleading, broken. I did it for the city, Reese. Order over chaos. Daniel met it unflinching. Chaos is burying kids for condos. Order's truth, even when it hurts. The verdicts landed like thunder. Guilty across the board, sentences stacking to lifetimes. Cheers erupted in the gallery. Families of the lost, Ruiz clapping Daniel's shoulder. But for him, catharsis was quiet. William's hand in his, rings glinting under courtroom fluorescence. After, they escaped to the lakefront, path lights tracing their steps. William stopped at the water's edge, stones skipping from his palm. It's over. Daniel pulled him close, waves lapping soft. Beginning. Their kiss caught the sunset. Deep, unhurried. A seal on survival. Romance reborn, not in fireworks, but embers. the deep affection of men who'd faced the abyss and chosen each other. Yet humanism's test waited. Jax's plea hearing, Daniel testifying character, flawed, but redeemable. He faltered. Daniel told the judge, voice even. But grace builds stronger. Jax walked with probation, eyes grateful. A bridge mended, tentative. Months blurred. Williams' expose Pulitzer-bound. Daniel promoted. Liaison for Reform Task Force. Their life wove normalcy. Brunches at and Sather. Pride floats waving flags unchained. Love deepened in domestic poetry. Laundry folded together, arguments over takeout yielding to make up slow dances. But one night, storm raging anew, William's voice turned grave over wine. Dan, the drive had more. A list, names of plants, not just cleaners. Politicians, donors. It goes higher. Daniel's heart sank. The cycles echo. We stop it. William's smile fierce. Together. Always. Their bond, once light in chaos, now beacon for the weary. A testament. In America's fractures, two men loving true could mend the world. One courageous step at a time. Winter gripped Chicago like a grudge. Snow drifts piling against Daniel's truck as he navigated the Dan Ryan's treacherous lanes. Wipers battling flurries that blurred the world to white. 6 months post-bust, the city exhaled. Reforms trickling in. Community boards empowered. Pills and murals blooming with Miguel's face. A vigil eternal. But the higher list William unearthed gnawed. A sequel's shadow. Senators' aides, PAC funds funneled through shells, echoing Russo's playbook on national scale. They debated it endless. Nights in the apartment, fire crackling in the thrift store grate, William's laptop glowing accusations. We go public, he'd urge, eyes alight. My platform now. Podcast deals rolling in. Daniel, ever the compass. Tempered. Strategic. Ruiz first. Build the case, not the headlines. Ruiz, promoted to task force lead, met them in a Loop coffee shop, steam rising from lattes like unspoken tensions. It's volcanic, she admitted. Files stacked covert. Ties to 28 midterms. Dark money propping extremists. Silencing queer voices in red districts. Your old haunt? Dan. GOP donors laundering hate as values. Daniel's scar itched. Marine ghosts stirring. And Hale? He talked. Bits. Claims he was mid-level. But the list? Names your Jax skirted. His uncle a bundler. Betrayal's aftershock. Jax, now volunteering at the youth center Daniel ran, had confessed family ties over beers. Awkward. Redemptive. Didn't know the depth, he'd said, voice thick. But I owe you, clean slate. Forgiveness, humanistic grace. Daniel had nodded, clinking bottles. Slates clean when actions right em. Now this. William leaned forward, resolve etched. We leak controlled, anonymous drops to allies. Protect the kids on the ground. Ruiz agreed, parceling tasks. Daniel's contacts in reform circles, William's press muscle. They dispersed into the snow, a pact renewed. Spring thawed the resolve, cherry blossoms dusting the mag mile as their op unfolded. Coded emails, dead drops in park benches, whistleblowers emerging like crocuses. William's podcast, Echoes Unburied, gained traction. Episodes dissecting the rot, guests from Pilsen moms to ex-lobbyists. Listener calls pouring in, stories of loves lost to values campaigns. Daniel thrived at the center. Boxing rings for teens, talks on resilience, his compass tattoo a badge anew. One evening, a kid, 17, eyes haunted, approached post-session. Heard your story, Mr. Reese. Mine too, Dad's church, the sermons. But you and Will? You'll make it seem possible. Daniel's chest swelled, clapping the boy's shoulder. It is. One fight at a time. Home that night, William waited with takeout sushi. Unrolled on the coffee table, candles flickering romantic whimsy. Hero of the hour, he teased, feeding Daniel a piece, fingers lingering playful. Daniel caught his wrist, pulling him down. Your light, Will. Always. Their evening unfolded tender. Bodies entwined on the rug, kisses tracing collarbones, hands mapping familiar terrains. Not conquest, but communion. Love's quiet symphony, emotional depths plumbed in sighs and shared breaths. Afterward, curled under blankets, William murmured, "The drop tomorrow, Senator's aid. If it lands." "It will." Daniel's arm tightened. "We've toppled worse." But climax crested brutal. The drop in Jackson Park, under the midnight hush of lagoons. Daniel shadowed from the oaks, William the courier, hood up, backpack slung casual. The aide waited on a bench, trench coat anonymous, but shadows stirred wrong. Not one, but three figures, silhouettes hulking. Ambush. William sensed it, pivoting sharp, but too late. A scuffle erupted, backpack torn free, fists connecting. Daniel burst from cover, tackling the nearest bigot muscle, reeking of entitlement. "Back off!" Chaos. Grunts, a knife flashing moonsilver. William dodged, landing a knee to groin. Daniel disarmed with a twist, marine precision. The aide bolted, but sirens wailed. Ruiz's tip-off, cruisers flooding the lot. Cuffed, the trio spat venom. Fairy lovers ruining America. William, lips split, laughed bloody. "America's ours too, assholes." The backpack secured, drive intact, emails chaining the senator to hate mills. Ruiz arrived, cuffing the runners. "Clean work. This cracks the vault." Bruised but unbroken, Daniel and William limped to the truck, adrenaline crashing to exhaustion. At home, ice packs and whiskey. William on the couch, Daniel tending wounds with gentle hands. "You saved me," William said, voice hushed. "We saved each other." Daniel's kiss sealed it, soft on bruised skin. The leak detonated. Headlines screaming dark money fuels hate. Senator implicated. Resignations cascaded. Probes blooming federal. Their names surfaced, heroes again but wiser, wearier. Summer solstice brought respite. A cabin rental in the Porcupine Mountains. Michigan's up wilds calling. They drove north, windows down. Springsteen blasting Thunder Road. Anthem to their run. Trails wound through birch groves. Lake swims icy and alive. One evening, bonfire crackling, William pulled a box from his pack. 2 new rings, gold bands etched with coordinates. The lakefront spot of their first kiss. "Renewal," he said, kneeling awkward in dirt. "Marry me, Dan." Legal, loud, forever. Tears pricked Daniel's eyes, pulling him up. Yes, God, yes. Their engagement night. Stars wheeling overhead, bodies joined in firelight's glow. Passionate yet pure, love's full bloom. Emotional crescendo, romantic apex. Whispers of vows, futures painted in dawn's promise. Back in Chicago, wedding plans wove joy. Small, inclusive Pilsen Hall, Jack's best man, Elena officiant. Families converged. William's mom beaming, Daniel's sister toasting, to the grooms who fixed the world a bit. But humanism's capstone came post-vows, reception laughter fading. A letter from Hale, prison inked. "Reese, you were right. Chaos was me. Find peace I couldn't." Daniel folded it away, sharing with William. Closure. The higher probe concluded fall. Indictments sealing the list, reforms mandating transparency. Their center expanded, podcasts syndicated, voices amplified, bonds unbreakable. Years on, gray threading temples, they stood lakefront at dusk, rings glinting. "That call," William mused, "nearly broke us." Daniel smiled, arm around waist. "Made us." In America's vast, flawed canvas, their story etched enduring. 2 men, pulled into danger, emerging light-bearers. Love's triumph, not flawless, but human. Dramatic falls, emotional rises, romantic depths, a legacy of hope against the chaos.